Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Andrew's Life. I am going to be doing a video of Clarksville, Indiana. Well, it's going to be most likely I'll be doing a few videos of Clarksville, Indiana. Now, Clarksville, Indiana is a southern Indiana city that is by Louisville, Kentucky. It's 8 minutes from Louisville, Kentucky. It's an hour and a half away from Indianapolis. It's an hour and 40 minutes from Cincinnati, Ohio. Now, right now, the median home price is $168,000. The cheapest home that's on the market right now here in Clarksville is priced at $75,000. If you want to buy anything decent, like decent meaning the neighborhood and the condition of the house, if you're wanting to buy something half decent here in Clarksville, I would probably advise you to look at houses priced at least $100,000. Now, the city of Clarksville has been declining in population as of the 2020 census. The population has been declining at a rate of 7.5%. Now, here in Clarksville, there are some things to do entertainment-wise. And if Clarksville doesn't offer enough excitement, then you have Jeffersonville, Indiana, which is a little bigger than Clarksville. And of course, you got Louisville, Kentucky itself. And here's one interesting fact about Clarksville, Indiana. Clarksville, Indiana is actually the home of Texas Roadhouse. Some of you might assume that Texas Roadhouse may have came from Texas, because Texas is well known for steak and the cowboy paraphernalia that you often find in Texas Roadhouse. But FYI, for those of you that like eating at Texas Roadhouse did not come from Texas. Texas Roadhouse actually came from Clarksville, Indiana. In fact, if you go online and you look it up, you'll find for yourself that Texas Roadhouse. Now, if you go Google it, it will tell you that Texas Roadhouse is a Louisville-based company. Now, Clarksville being right by Louisville, that's where they get Louisville-based. But to be more specific, the home of Texas Roadhouse is actually here in Clarksville, Indiana. Now, I used to live in Louisville, I would say about 20 years ago. And I left Louisville, I left Louisville about I left Louisville 18 years ago, give or take. Now, I've been to Clarksville, Indiana before. I've been to Clarksville, Indiana a few times. Now, I'm not gonna claim to be any type of a connoisseur of Clarksville, because I'm not. And I will also admit to the fact that I have never spent any considerable amount of time in Clarksville. Now, I did look at houses here in Clarksville way back in the day. But other than that, I really had no other reason to spend any significant amount of time here in Clarksville. I'm back in Clarksville again to record this video. And right now I'm driving up and down the commercial sector of Clarksville. This is where you're going to find the majority of your businesses here in the city of Clarksville. Oh, the population of Clarksville, by the way, is 21,447 people. And I'm driving down Lewis and Clark Parkway. Now, if you're looking to move to southern Indiana and you're looking to live closer to Louisville than, let's say, Indianapolis or Evansville, then I would say one of the cheaper places to live in southern Indiana, if not the cheapest place in southern Indiana, is going to be here in Clarksville. Okay, this is a dead-end street here. I'll turn around. Now, if I had to take a guess, I'm going to assume that this neighborhood is going to be a typical everyday working class community part of Clarksville. I mean, I would say almost every city of this size will have different neighborhoods. I'm going to assume that where I'm at now is going to be more or less the working class part of Clarksville. So for those of you that are wanting to move to Clarksville, Indiana, and you're not able to, or you don't want to spend tons of money on housing, then this video is going to be for you. Now, just by look at things here in Clarksville, I mean, you know, basically, I mean, in this community looks like a typical working class community. The houses here are not too big. Your lot size. Now, some of these houses, some of these houses, I mean, your lots aren't super big or anything, but a lot of these lots appear to be a decent size. I mean, these houses are not like smashed into each other. You do have a little bit of a yard around this area. and a lot of these yards look pretty decent kept. A lot of these houses, a lot of your houses here look well kept as well. I mean, sometimes when you move into a community like this where the houses are smaller, it's going to be easier for the people who live in that community to keep up their houses a little better, because everything in terms of building material to other type of mechanical repairs are going to be more affordable. And this is the reason why, me personally, I'm more of a fan of smaller houses than I am of a bigger house. Because you buy a bigger house, I mean, it can get, financially, all the way from the utility bills to the repair and the maintenance of a bigger house. Sometimes things can get a little overbearing. Like around, in fact, I'm gonna turn my camera a little bit so y'all can see a little better. All right. Now around here, these houses are a little bigger, but still, this is a decent community. Now, this community, I'm not gonna say it's an upscale community, but this community definitely is a notch up from the street that I was on a couple of minutes ago. I mean, you come around here, the houses are a little bigger. Up in front here, you got this house. But yeah, I would say for the most part, this appears to be a solid working class community, where if you're making the average 40 to 60 a year, you can afford to buy a house in this community. Maybe not on this street, but in this neighborhood in general. I mean, like, you look at these houses, especially in this market, these are gonna easily be $200,000+ houses on this street. Yeah, these are gonna easily be $200,000+ houses. But as I continue this tour on this side of Clarksville, I mean, I will run into communities where the houses are going to be a little smaller and the prices are going to therefore be a little lower. And I made a video. I mean, on one of the videos I made of Evansville, Indiana, I went on a little rant talking about everyday millionaires and Chris Hogan and all that. Now, neighborhoods like this is where you're going to find a lot of your everyday millionaires. I mean, because this area I'm driving through right now, I mean, it's not super fancy, but at the same time, it's nice. I mean, it's not super fancy, but it's not what you would consider a plain Jane neighborhood. I mean, a lot of these houses are fairly nice. They're a decent size. Some of them come with a decent sized lots. And I remember talking to a few people that lived here in Clarksville. Now this conversation that I'm talking about, this conversation was had 15 years ago. I don't know how true it is anymore, but Clarksville, as I can remember, has had a negative rap for crime. And again, that doesn't faze me because, from my experience talking to people who live in cities like this, I mean, anytime you live in a city that has more than a few thousand people, you're going to have a sector of people that are going to start yapping their jaws about how high the crime in their city is. And in some cases, they do have a point, and what they say is legitimate. But there's a lot of folks out here who, in my humble opinion, what they consider high crime is nothing compared to many other places in the country. Like what some people, in my opinion, might consider high crime. I mean, to me, to me, it's laughable. So anyone that knows Clarksville, feel free, leave a comment below. Tell us what you think of Clarksville. Now I'm gonna drive down this street here. Now these houses look like the type of houses where, if you earn that average 40 to 60 grand or so a year, this is gonna most likely be the community that you can look forward to living in here in Clarksville, Indiana. Now obviously, if you want to stretch your money, if you want to stretch your budget, you can live a little better. But me personally, being that I try to be as conservative as possible with my resources, if you make between 40 to 60 a year, this is the type of community that I would suggest that you look at a house in. I mean, a lot of these houses, they're not big. They're straight to the point. I mean, some of these houses are a little bigger than others, but for the most part, these houses are not big. They're straight to the point. These houses are not, your neighbors are not sitting on top of you. A lot of these yards are of a decent size. Many of these houses come with a garage. Almost every house on this street comes with a driveway, paved. I mean, this is a nice, quiet, this seems like a nice, quiet place to live if you're wanting to live in southern Indiana. I mean, housing prices here, in my opinion, are more much more reasonable than New Albany. And it's also cheaper here it's also a little cheaper to live here compared to Jeffersonville too. Now these streets I'm driving off, I'm driving down. A lot of these streets are gonna be off of Lewis and Clark Parkway. I don't know what side of town this would be considered. I'm gonna assume this is gonna be considered the east side of Clarksville. I'm getting ready. I'm approaching Eastern Parkway. Eastern Boulevard. So I'm gonna assume this is gonna be the east side of Clarksville. Again, if I'm wrong, somebody leave a comment in the comment section and let me know what side of town you guys consider this to be. I'm going down Flamino Drive, or I don't know, Flamino something. Yeah, this is Flamingo. I'm on East Flamingo Drive. Yeah, Flamingo. That's the name of the street I'm on. East Flamingo Drive. And now I'm turning down. I can't pronounce that street. I'm not even gonna try it. All right, people, I'm passing by Maplewood Drive. I'm gonna go ahead and drive down Linwood Drive. And again, a lot of these communities, I mean, this area right here, I mean, for the most part, it's a solid working class community. Nothing super fancy or special about this neighborhood, just a bunch of hardworking people who want to live a good life. You know, out of these streets I'm driving down right now are going to be off of Eastern Boulevard. Right now I'm driving down Windermere Drive. And I'm getting close to the half-hour mark already on my video. So I think at this point you guys get the point of this video. The point of this particular video was to show you guys the more working class part of Clarksville. Now, areas that are lower income, I'm not saying you guys don't have a job and you guys don't work just as hard as anybody else, because you guys do. In fact, many of you work harder than most people, which is why you guys need to figure out a way to work smarter while you're working harder. That way you don't got to spend the rest of your life working hard and then ending up broke. FYI, peep the game. But anyways, I just thought I would throw that out there because let's not get it twisted. Just because you live in a lower income community doesn't mean that you're lazy. It doesn't mean that at all. So let's not get that twisted. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end it right here. Everybody have a blessed one, and I will see you guys on the next video.